Erev Shabbat Shalom Rabotai. We are continuing with our Mishna Yomi, Masechet Yevamot. We are up to Perek Tetzayin, Mishnah Gimel. Today's Mishnayot should be Le'elu Nishmat, Neria ben Svetlana, Ranbai V'Eliyahu ben Burcha Yisrael, ben Chana bat Miriam, Menuchatam began Eden, Amen. And Le'avdir ben Chaim Lechaim for the Refuah Shelemav Daniel Shel Melroza, B'tor Shah Chorei Yisrael. The Mishnah explains how to identify a man's corpse so that his wife may be allowed to remarry. En mi'idin ela al patzuf panim imachotem. Witnesses cannot testify to the identity of a corpse unless they recognize it based on the form of the face, both cheeks, and the forehead. The Gemara says on page 128, Masechet Yevamot, with the nose. If they do not see the face, or if the cheeks, forehead, or nose is not intact, they cannot be sure of the corpse's identity. Even if there are identifying marks on its body or clothes, the witnesses must recognize the corpse. They cannot rely on identifying features such as the size of the limbs or marks such as moles of the corpse that match those of a particular person, because it is common for other people to have the same marks. If, however, the corpse contains a particularly unusual mark, such as an extra finger, one can identify it by that mark. However, they cannot rely on any marks from the dead man's clothes, no matter how unique, because he may be wearing someone else's clothes. Therefore, unless witnesses testify that they recognize the man's corpse based on the face and nose, that man's wife may not remarry. In addition, the witnesses must be sure that the man is dead. They cannot testify that a man is dead unless they saw that his sword left his body, meaning he had actually died. Even if they saw that he was severely cut by a sword, even if his wounds seemed deadly, it is possible that he was attacked with a very hot blade, which cauterizes the wounds, meaning closes them through intense heat and will allow them to heal. Or even if they saw him hanging from a gallows, meaning he might have been taken down after the witnesses left and he wouldn't have died. Or they saw him that a wild beast was eating him, the beast might have stopped before attacking his vital organs. If they did not see him die, his wife may not remarry, because it is possible that he was somehow saved. However, if it was impossible for him to have survived, for example, if they saw a beast attacking a vital organ, such as the brain or heart, they can testify that he is dead. The next law is the subject of a machloket. And mi'idin el ad shlosha yamim, they cannot testify about the identity of a corpse unless they saw it within 3 days of death. After 3 days, the corpse decomposes and its appearance changes so much that they cannot be sure of its identity. Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba Omer, but Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba says, Lo chol ha'adam v'lo chol ha'makom v'lo chol ha'ashaot shavin. Not all men, nor all places, nor all times are alike in this matter. Since corpses decompose at different rates depending on many factors, no set time can be established. For example, fleshier corpses decompose faster than leaner ones, and corpses decompose faster in warm weather than in cool weather. Therefore, some corpses decompose to the point that they are unidentifiable within 3 days of death, and some retain their appearance even after that time, depending on their size, the place, and time of year. Rather, in each case, Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba says it depends on how much the appearance of the corpse might have changed. And the Rav does tell us, the halakha does not follow the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba. That is in a Mishnah Gimel. Mishnah Dal now discusses the law of a person who was lost in a body of water. If a man fell into a body of water and was not seen to come out, witnesses saw him fall into the water, and they waited there for longer than a person can normally survive underwater, but he did not emerge. However, his body was not found. Ben shesh le'en sof, whether it is a body of water with visible shores, meaning literally water that has an end, meaning it is a small body of water and a person standing at one shore can see all shores. Ben shenem sof, or whether it does not have visible shores, meaning it's water that has no end, it is a large body of water such as a sea or river, and a person standing at one shore cannot see all shores. Ishto asura, that man's wife is forbidden to remarry, because it is possible that he is still alive. Where the shores are not visible, he might have emerged from the water out of the witness's view. And even where the shores are all visible, in which case he could have not emerged without being noticed, it is nevertheless possible that he survived in the water for a long time and emerged after the witnesses left. Now, this ruling is the opinion of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir now relates an incident to show that a person can indeed survive underwater for a long time. Rabbi Meir said, it happened that a person fell into a large pit full of water and emerged alive after 3 days. So we see then that it is possible for a person to survive in water for a considerable amount of time. Therefore, presumably, The commentators explain he managed to keep his head out of water by some means. So Reb Meir holds that in every case we must suspect that a similar thing happened. Therefore, even if a man fell into a body of water whose shores are visible and he did not emerge within the time it normally takes a person to drown, we must suspect that he is still alive. Now, Rabbi Yossi disagrees. Rabbi Yossi holds that if a man falls into a body of water whose shores are visible, he is presumed to be dead and his wife may remarry. And Rabbi Yossi cites an incident to support this. Amar Rabbi Yossi said, there was an incident in which a blind man went to immerse himself in a pool of water whose shores were visible in a cave. And his guide went after him. And they both stayed in the water long enough for their souls to depart. Although their bodies were never found, the sages allowed their wives to remarry. Clearly, when a person falls into water whose shores are visible, if he is not seen to emerge within the time that a person can normally survive underwater, he is presumed to have drowned. We do not suspect that he somehow remained alive. Rabbi Yossi holds that the incident cited by Rabbi Meir was clearly a miraculous event and cannot be used as proof for other cases. Now Rabbi Yossi agrees though that if a person fell into a body of water whose shores are not visible, his wife may not remarry because he might have emerged from the water out of the witness's view. Rabbi Yossi says it's an incident to support this law. V'shuv maseh be'Asya, there was another incident that happened in Asya, bechad sheshilshuhu layam, with a person who was lowered into the sea on a rope. When they tried to bring him out, v'lo ala bi'adam ela raglo, they recovered only his leg. They lowered him into the sea by means of a rope tied to his leg. When they pulled back the rope, they saw that only his leg, which had somehow been cut off, was attached to the rope, while the rest of the body was lost. Amru Chachamim, the sages said, Mina al-kuva ul-mala tinaseh. If the leg was cut off above the knee, the man's wife may remarry because he could have not survived such a wound. If a person's leg is cut off above the knee, that is such a serious wound that he is considered a treifa, someone who cannot possibly survive more than 12 months. Therefore, if the recovered leg had been cut off above the knee, the man's wife may marry after 12 months have passed, because even if he managed to come out of the water, he would have died from his wound. However, if the leg was cut off below the knee, she may not remarry because he could have survived the wound, and since the shores of the sea cannot all be seen, he might have emerged from the water out of sight and could still be alive.